The Beslan school siege started on 1 September 2004, lasted 3 days, involved the capture of over 1,100 people as hostages, and ended with the death of at least 385 people. The crisis began when a group of armed Islamic terrorists, mostly Ingush and Chechen, occupied School No. 1 in the town of Beslan, North Ossetia on 1 September 2004. The hostage-takers were the Riyadus-Salikhin Battalion, sent by the Chechen warlord Shamil Basayev, who demanded recognition of the independence of Chechnya, and UN and Russian withdrawal from Chechnya. On the third day of the standoff, Russian security forces stormed the building with the use of tanks, incendiary rockets and other heavy weapons. At least 330 hostages were killed, including 186 children, with a significant number of people injured and reported missing. The event led to security and political repercussions in Russia. Most notably, it contributed to a series of federal government reforms consolidating power in the Kremlin and strengthening of the powers of the President of Russia. As of 2016, aspects of the crisis in relation to the militants continue to be contentious. Questions remain regarding how many terrorists were involved, the nature of the preparations, and whether a section of the group had escaped. Questions about the Russian government's management of the crisis have also persisted, including allegations of disinformation and censorship in news media, whether the journalists who were present at Beslan were allowed to freely report on the crisis, the nature and content of negotiations with the terrorists, allocation of responsibility for the eventual outcome, and perceptions that excessive force was used. Background: Comintern Street SNO was one of 7 schools in Beslan, a town of around 35,000 people in the Republic of North Ossetia, in Russia's Caucasus. The school, located next to the district police station, had around 60 teachers and more than 800 students. Its gymnasium, where most of the hostages were held for 52 hours, was a recent addition, measuring 10 meters wide and 25 meters long. There were reports that men disguised as repairmen had concealed weapons and explosives in the school sometime during July 2004, but this was later officially refuted. However, several witnesses have since testified they were made to help the captors remove the weapons from the caches hidden in the school. There were also claims that a sniper's nest on the sports hall roof had been set up in advance. It was also reported that the SNO in Beslan was used by Ossetian nationalist militia forces as an internment camp for ethnic Ingush civilians in late 1992 during the short but bloody Ingush-Ossetian East Prigorodny conflict, in which hundreds of Ingush residents of North Ossetia lost their lives or disappeared during the week-long hostilities, and thus the school was arguably chosen as the target of the attack by the mostly Ingush rebel group because of this connection. According to media reports, SNO was one of several buildings in which the Ossetian militants had held hundreds of Ingush hostages, many of them women and children. The hostages were all kept in the same gymnasium and were deprived of food and water. At least one newborn and several dozen male hostages were executed. Beslan was also the site of an airfield used by the Russian Air Force for combat operations in Chechnya since 1994.